Did you know that the ground beneath modern New York, the financial heart of America, was once traded for a handful of glass beads and iron tools? Today, New York is a city of skyscrapers, global finance, and relentless motion. But in the 17th century, this place was nothing more than a fragile settlement on the edge of the ocean. This is not a story told through dates and charts. It is the story of everyday people who lived here, worked here, and fought to survive at the very beginning of America's urban history. In the early 1600s, Manhattan was covered in dense forests. Trees reached the water's edge, and the shoreline remained quiet and largely untouched. This was where Europeans first encountered the Lenape, the native people of the land. The Dutch laid out their goods on the ground: metal tools, glass beads, cloth. In Europe, these items meant little. For the Lenape, they held real practical value. In return, the Lenape brought furs, mainly beaver, otter, and mink. Trade unfolded calmly. There were no negotiations filled with pressure or force. For the Dutch, it was business. For the Lenape, it was a familiar form of exchange they had practiced long before Europeans arrived. This moment marked the beginning of one of the most profound transformations in American history. Over time, trade began to reshape the Lenape world. European diseases spread. New economic rules took hold. The settlement expanded. What started as a peaceful exchange of goods slowly turned into displacement. The trade that began with beads ended with the loss of a homeland. Throughout the 17th century, many Lenape were forced to leave Manhattan and move west. Their way of life eroded, and their deep connection to the land was broken, a pattern that would repeat itself across North America. Seen from above, New Amsterdam looked small and chaotic. Houses stood without a clear plan. Streets were narrow, muddy, and uneven. Pigs roamed freely between buildings, kept by nearly every household. They dug under foundations and caused constant trouble for local authorities. Life moved at a slow pace. The working day followed daylight and weather. Windmills turned on higher ground, and smoke rose steadily from chimneys. This was not a powerful city. It was an improvised one, learning how to survive. This disorder was not failure. It was the raw beginning of a city built on movement, trade, and adaptation. At the center of the settlement stood a fort. It was not decoration. It was power made visible. Soldiers were stationed there, weapons were stored, and colonial officials gathered inside its walls. Nearby stood a Reformed church. Religion shaped daily life in the colony. On Sundays, residents attended services, listened to sermons, and exchanged news. Yet New Amsterdam was unusually tolerant for its time. Protestants of many denominations lived alongside Catholics, Jews, and followers of other faiths. This early diversity would later become one of the defining features of American cities. The colony itself was controlled by the Dutch West India Company. It wrote the laws, collected taxes, and regulated trade. The legal system was straightforward, but harsh. Judges ruled on debts, public order, and commercial disputes. Punishments ranged from fines to physical penalties and forced labor. Taxes applied to trade, land, and goods. Life in New Amsterdam was governed less by personal freedom and more by corporate rules. An early example of how economic power shaped American society. Along the northern edge of the settlement stood a wooden wall. It marked the city's boundary. One day, this wall would give its name to Wall Street, the future financial nerve center of the United States. In the 17th century, It was not a symbol of wealth, but of fear and defense. The wall was built largely out of concern over English expansion. Notices, warnings, and orders were posted along it. People passed by knowing that beyond the wall lay uncertainty and danger. Down by the water, the docks of the West India Company formed the city's economic lifeline. This was where New Amsterdam truly came alive. Ships arrived from Europe and the Caribbean carrying furs, sugar, timber, and barrels of alcohol. The air was thick with the smell of tar, wet rope, and raw wood. Labor here was constant. The city depended on it. From the docks, a canal stretched deep into the settlement. One day, it would become Broad Street. At the time, it was a filthy waterway where small boats delivered goods directly to warehouses. The work was brutal. Hired European laborers, indentured servants, and enslaved Africans hauled heavy cargo by hand, often standing knee-deep in mud. This canal mattered more than any road because it fed the city and kept it alive. The market was the most vibrant place in New Amsterdam. Languages blended together: Dutch, English, French, German. Fish, bread, cloth, and tools changed hands. Children played nearby while adults discussed business and rumors. Close to the market lay Bowling Green, a small open space where residents gathered, talked, and briefly escaped the demands of daily survival. Winter slowed the city to a crawl. Families stayed indoors, celebrated holidays, and welcomed the new year. But politically, tension continued to rise. Governor Peter Stuyvesant ruled with discipline and demanded obedience. He was known for his wooden leg reinforced with metal and for his rigid temperament. In 1664, English warships entered the harbor. Stuyvesant wanted to fight. The people refused. They chose survival over pride. Without a single battle, New Amsterdam passed into English control and received a new name: New York. Life carried on in taverns. People drank, smoked, argued over prices, and speculated about the future. It was in these crowded rooms that a new society began to take shape, one that would eventually transform a small colonial settlement into a global capital. New Amsterdam was unfinished and fragile, but the foundations of a future megacity were already there. This was only one moment in its early story, when New York was just beginning to become itself. If you want to explore another era or another city, let us know in the comments. Subscribe so you do not lose your place in time. See you again in history.